So this is how you take those calories and macros and you apply them into your everyday life. We each have our own individual numbers that are literally like a budget. It's a daily budget that, or a number that we can spend on whatever we want, except we have to pay rent, and that rent is protein. So once that rent is paid, we can spend the rest of those daily budget on the other two macros and whatever we want. And this is kind of how some people get around with getting results that they want and still eating the food that they like. Like I explained in the last video, how the McDouble, the calories, how they equals from the macros. That is working with those numbers. Not saying it's ideal, but you could still work with those numbers and work them into this daily budget as long as you hit those two goals, which is your total calorie goal for the day and your total protein goal for the day. The way you find your numbers, it's a little tricky. There's quite a few formulas out there. What I always suggest to people is you can go to a TDE or TDEE calculator.net and you enter your information there. Select light exercise. I found that gives the more accurate number. And that'll give you a base of calories to work with. Usually it'll give you weight, like if you have weight loss goals, it'll show you like if you're trying to cut the calories and all that stuff. Choose your daily calories, and you're going to want to, if you're trying to lose weight, you can cut 500 calories from that. Or if you're trying to bulk, you can add 5 calories to that. I'll go over more of that in the advanced videos on how to actually manipulate the carbs to change those numbers. But right now, let's keep it basic. Let's just get that TDEE number, and once you have that total calorie number, then you can figure out your protein goal. Your protein goal is typically based off your weight or your ideal weight. Say if you want, if you're 160 pounds, or if you're trying to get down to 160 pounds, I would suggest around 160 grams of protein. They say zero point 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And so it just makes it easier just to go to the gram. So once you have those figured out, then the rest just kind of falls into place. Once you track your numbers, the protein or the fat and the carb numbers will just fall into place with the calorie and protein. And I'll kind of go over how that happens. Once you get your number, like I said, set that protein goal up. Um, I'm so these are basically just the starting points. We can always just adjust from these. Um, I don't want you to feel that any macros or any kind of numbers that you ever figure out are set in stone. They're always where you start, and based on your progress pictures and progress from the weeks, you can turn the knobs and adjust from there. But let's say you came to it. Your TDE read out 2,500 calories that you need to maintain where you're at right now, and you want to lose some weight. So we're going to cut you by 500 calories, and we're going to go down to 2,000 calories. That 2,000 calories now is your daily calorie goal. You cannot exceed that with no matter what. And I assure you, you'll still get the amount of food you need. If you add in, say you're that 160-pound person, and you add in 160 grams of protein a day, that is what you need to add. That's already spent. That's calories already gone. You need to focus on those. That sets you up already, because once you eat that much protein, it kind of helps you from getting too hungry. So 160 grams of protein is 720 grams of, or 720 calories. I'm sorry, 720 calories. 160 grams of protein, 720 calories. So that 720 calories is being subtracted from your daily allotment of 2,000. Now, quick math says that's what, 112.80. So now you still have, I mean, a good amount of calories to work with there. So carbs, you can get 220 grams of carbs on 880 calories. So that's 220 grams of carbs is still a good amount of carbs. You're not depriving yourself. You're not cutting out sugar. You're not cutting out bread. You could still have, carbs that you like with your breakfast or whatnot, and you're still in good position there. Same with the fat. 40 grams of fat equals 405 calories. This all equals right up to 2,000 calories. So you could still have 160 grams of protein, 220 grams of carbs, 400 or 45 grams of fat, and still lose weight if you're putting yourself in that 500 calorie deficit. Now, what I didn't go over in the calorie video is that it takes 3,500 calories to either gain a pound of fat or lose a pound of fat. So let's say you put yourself in a 500 calorie deficit for 7 days a week. That's 3,500 calories. That's why we get that 500 calorie from a deficit from there. So if you're in a daily deficit of 500 calories, you will potentially, in theory, lose that 1 pound of body fat a week. If you don't want to lose that much, you definitely cut it back. If you want to lose more, you got to be careful. But I would definitely add more cardio before you cut more food. It again, a real quick tip, and I'll probably go over this a couple more times. It's always easier to cut calories than it is to burn them in the gym. A lot of people think their leg workouts will burn so many calories, and it'll be quite upsetting when you find out how much less you actually are burning. So it is always easy to eat 100 calories less than it is to burn 100 calories. Um, but as long as you're staying within that budget, again, we stuck with the 2,000 calorie budget with 160 gram protein goal. That allowed us to still consume enough carbs and enough fats and still be happy and hit our goals. So that's kind of how we work it more into our lifestyles. Um, so now that I hope that wasn't too confusing on explaining the dailies. So each meal you can find yourself, if you really want to sit down every day and do the math, you can pretty much hit these numbers, um, or your numbers, off of eating whatever foods you prefer. If you're like, again, if you're willing to do the math and sit there with the numbers and add them all up, because every restaurant and fast food place now has nutritional values and facts on all their food now, so you can sit there and weigh it out and go through all that. A lot of us just tend to meal prep because we know that the food that we weighed out and have available for us will help us hit those daily macros. Now, these ones I said, the 2,000 calories and the 160 gram, those goals, those are hypothetical. Do not use those numbers. Again, find your numbers based on your TDEE. You can go and find a formula if you feel like doing some math, if you like doing math, or you can go to the calculator, TDEE calculator.net, enter your numbers there and find where you can put yourself in find your maintenance calories. And if you want to go into a deficit, or if you want to gain a little weight, you would go obviously in the opposite direction with the 500 calories. You can even do 250 calories just to put on that potential half pound a week. Um, Again, in the advanced nutrition, we'll go over how to manipulate those numbers to build muscle. What we want to add those calories in as to add muscle. What we want to, how we want to work those numbers. Right now, for general health, and I know a lot of people that have gotten away with looking really great and having great results with just setting a daily calorie goal, a daily protein goal. Because if you hit the protein goal and you hit the calorie goal, the other two macros, they'll fall into place and you won't exceed your calories, because exceeding and eating in too much calories is where you gain weight. It's not from what types of macros you eat. You just got to make sure you have enough protein in you. So into the next videos, we'll show you guys how to measure that all up, set it all up in a meals, and make it all make sense so you can make it easier going forward. Talk to you guys soon.